Well, first of all, welcome everyone to the Certified Coach Accelerator Workshop. And this is a workshop. This is something that we're going to go through tonight, and we're going to talk about the three shifts to get you ready for your next leadership role, whatever that may be, before your gaps get exposed. I'll talk to you a little bit about myself in just a bit, but right now what I want to do is make sure we get going and that I honor your time. So as we go through this process, we're going to talk about three shifts and then a method. Three shifts and then a method. First is the partner shift, and what we're talking about here is a new way of leading, a new way of preparing yourself for your next role, whatever that role may be. That might be in 6 to 12 months, that might be in 6 years, but it's a shift forward. So we're going to talk about the partner shift, which is you stop being the leader with all the answers, and then you start being the partner that draws them out. Second, engaged listening. You may have heard of that in one way, shape, or form. And that's the difference between hearing someone and actually moving them forward to action. And then number three is coaching presence. It's really how to walk into a bigger room without that stress that we sometimes feel, that we have to have all the answers, but walking in with competence, confidence, and clarity without having to have that answer. So we'll go through these, but that's just a big picture of what we'll cover. So what we want to do is we want to get ready for whatever role is coming up, whatever role is next, before it exposes the gaps that we didn't know that we had. So even if I'm an avid reader, I love to listen to audiobooks. That's one of my favorite things to do when I'm exercising or driving from one place to the next. But I think we come to the point in our careers, in our lives, where we've read the books, we've sat through the conferences, we've collected the degrees, but we still arrive at a ceiling in our leadership, and we arrive at a point where we're getting ready for our next role, and we feel that we need something else to get us moving in the right direction, and most importantly, prepared for the next role. We can't always explain what that is, but we have that feeling of, well, I think there's something else that I need to do. So, one of the things that I hear, or three of the things rather, that I hear the most as I train leaders and coach leaders is the following: I need to know more. That's a big one. Hey, I need to read more books. I need to attend another training. I need to get another few LinkedIn badges. I need to get more certifications. So that's one of the things I hear over and over again. So more expertise, more answers, more degrees, so that I'm not exposed when the bigger role comes. No one wants to get to that next role and then realize, wow, I really dropped the ball. I'm not prepared. And one of the things that it says here below is that what got you here as a leader, wherever you find yourself right now, it's not going to get you there necessarily where you want to be in this next leadership role. So, what we talk about here tonight is that idea of how do I get ready? How do we get ready for that next leadership role so that if it happens in the next 3 months or 6 months or 6 years, we're going to be ready and we'll have the confidence, the competence, and the clarity to step into that next role prepared. The second thing I hear is, I already listen well. Maybe you've said that before, or maybe others have said that I'm a pretty good listener. Well, I've been told my whole life that I'm a good listener. And as I went through the coach certification process, I realized I was not as good as I thought I was. And there's a difference that many of us haven't learned simply because we haven't been placed in that setting. Now, the third one is, what if I'm not ready? That's one of the things that people really stress about, leaders in particular. What if I'm not ready for that next role? And what happens if I step into this role, like happened to this one young lady, and you realize, okay, I'm really not prepared for what's coming at me. And what happens is we've been taught to lead a certain way over the years or through the modeling of other leaders. But what we're going to talk about tonight is a new way of leading, a new way of really serving people. That's really what it's about: serving people and empowering people. So these beliefs are not, they're the ceiling, but at the same time, it's not because of a lack of effort, it's not because of a lack of intelligence. It's just we've learned some things that it's helpful for us to unlearn as we get into our next role. So just to review the three shifts, that's it. That's what we're going to focus on tonight. And then we'll do a couple things just to help us. And I'll stop the share. We'll do something on the chat. And I think that'll be enjoyable. And it'll be a tool that you can actually use right now with team members that you currently have. So the partnership, the engaged listening, and coaching presence. So this is what we're going to be talking about. We'll go into some of these in more detail, but that's just to give you the big picture as the introduction. Imagine it's next Tuesday morning, and a few months from now, you're walking into the office, you're asked a question, and then all of a sudden you stay quiet. Next, you watch someone, they talk their way into their own answer. You're having a conversation with them, but you're remaining silent. You're not giving them the answer you instinctively want to give them. And then they walk out of that room, out of your office, taller than they walked in. And then lastly, here it says, and you carry nothing out of the room on your back. So you walk out of that meeting and you've realized you've helped this person in a different way. They, instead of coming to you for all the answers, all the advice, all the consulting, now they walk out of the room. They know what to do. They have clarity. They figure this out on their own with your help, of course. And now they know what to do. There's accountability built in, and they're motivated to move forward. So that's not necessarily a personality that we're born with. It's a coaching skill that we learn. So why spend the next hour or so with me? And I'll just share briefly a couple things about me. I'm an ICF professional certified coach. I'm a member of the ICF, the coaching organization Imagine Coaching Academy. We're a level one ICF accredited coaching education partner. And I'm really happy about that. Took a lot of work to get to that credential, to that accreditation with the ICF. And I really enjoy partnering with them because I believe they're the gold standard in coaching. Second, I've trained over 11,896 people as of today here in the United States and internationally as well. I've written, I've published over 29 books, written several articles and blogs, and anything from, coaching, character, soft skills, marriage, and spiritual growth, all of those things. And then I've been in business for 26 years, and this December 21st, by God's grace, my wife and I will celebrate 35 years of marriage, and I'll celebrate 34 years in ministry. I serve as an executive pastor at a church here in Miami. So those are things that I'm really excited about. That's just a little bit about me. But I remember many years ago, I hit a ceiling and I thought, okay, what do I need to do? Do I need to get another degree? Do I need to attend another course? And it really wasn't the answer. And that's why I'm so excited about sharing with you what I've learned. So, one of the things I want you to look at is, first of all, it's not about you. You and I have gotten to the place where we are in our leadership. We coach teams, we coach other people, maybe we coach volunteers and serve volunteers. And we've done so with a certain formula, with a certain way, a certain standard. But this is something that we've learned over time and it's worked for us. And one of the things that I'm finding and discovering now is that in order for us to really enter that next role and serve people effectively, we have to learn a new way of leading, not so much telling people what to do, giving them advice, but actually switching from advisor or consultant to coach. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. That formula got you this far. Many of us are very successful because we've done a good job, we have a proven track record, we've gotten results, but it can't take you further. That formula doesn't necessarily help you to empower and develop and multiply leader. So that's what we're going to get into here. Here's what almost every leader believes, at least the ones that I've talked to. Become the person with the most answers in the room. Read another book, get the extra degree, the extra LinkedIn badge, or sign up for another fill in the blank. Because when the bigger role comes, you'd better be ready to have the answer for everything or you'll be exposed. And I really believe that as well. I needed to keep reading books, and not that I don't read books now, obviously, but I felt, well, I needed to do something and just accelerate, and that wasn't the answer. It wasn't satisfying, and it didn't really help me to empower people and develop people effectively. Leaders who multiply are not experts handing down answers. That's what we discover. They're partners who draw them out. So they're not necessarily people who the only purpose they serve is to give you their life experience or mentor you. It's something else, it's something much deeper. Let me introduce you to Brian, or BJ, challenging others to own the process. Brian, he's an education consultant, over 21 years of experience in the field. He came into my program as the classic expert, and these are his words. I was always the person with the answers, telling people step one, step two, step three. He's very methodical. But then they don't own the process when he does that. They do not own the results. And then what changed? He learned to ask instead of tell, and something changed. He started using it with educational leaders and his teams and their teams, as well as his consulting clients, and then in his own words, with his own kids and even with his wife. He's a brave guy using that with his wife. And then we have the same man, the same experience, one shift in how he led. And that's where coaching came in. And notice what it says here below. Coaching transfers ownership while maintaining accountability. He was asking the question, how do I transfer ownership, reflectively, repeatedly, effectively? And coaching helped them to really land at this pace. And he's in a really good spot today. He just recently got a promotion. And now, even more before, he's going to be doing more coaching. So, what does this mean for you? Here's what changes. First of all, we stop chasing the next degree. And I'm all for education and working through university. I think that's really important. But there comes a point where it's just not enough. Instead of 2 more years chasing one more degree, it says, and hoping it finally makes you feel ready, you spend a fraction of that learning one skill that changes everything. And then notice the second one. We stop being the one that everyone depends on. Everyone comes to us often because, hey, you're a good counselor, or you're a great advisor, you're a helpful mentor, you know a lot, you love to study. But instead of being the one where every decision has to run through and flow through, now you become the leader who actually grows and empowers other leaders. And there's a difference, there's a shift. And then lastly, it says you start leading by coaching. The 3 shifts that I'm going to talk about now are going to actually walk you through how to actually make that real and a reality in your day-to-day experience. So I'm going to give you a couple of tools. We'll do an exercise. And after I go through a little explanation here on the 3, then we'll get into some practical things, and I think it'll be helpful. Notice what it says here below. You're already enough of an expert. That was never the question. So let me introduce you to Dr. Paula. Dr. Paula is interesting because she was the last one in and she became the first one out. She was the last one in my very first cohort, and she was the first one to graduate. She is definitely an overachiever. So Dr. Paula was not short on credentials. She had plenty. She had the degrees. What she didn't have was the thing that she actually wanted. And what did she want? She wanted a new chapter, a new way to serve people and transform lives, and the confidence to step into it. She had been an educator, and she still is an educator, for 35 years, and she was looking for a change. What change? It says, Dr. Paula was the last student to join my very first cohort, and early on, she walked away from our live coaching evaluation. She was discouraged. She was. She was intimidated by this. It's an experiential learning cohort, so you have to put yourself out there. You have to practice coaching live as I mentor you. And that was intimidating for her. And she felt somewhat uncomfortable, even though every day she was teaching students. But what set Dr. Paula apart really wasn't her talent. It was this quiet, relentless willingness to take the feedback that I gave her and work on her weak spots and then trust the process. I would tell her, Dr. Paula, trust the process. Trust the process. Do the work and trust the process. And she accelerated through the cohort, and she was the first one to graduate, and I was so proud of her. She did an excellent job. So during the time of the cohort, and this is really a funny point for me, she had been asked when people had started listening to her and they realized that she was getting certified coach training, they started setting up appointments with her before she even finished the program. She coached about 30 people, and we just laughed together. And I said, "You're just a coaching magnet," because people were attracted to her coaching and her expertise. But then she had to walk them through the process to help them understand, well, I'm not going to give you advice. I'm going to walk with you in this process, and we're going to discover things together. So that was really exciting for me and for Dr. Paula as well. So she's not a one-off. So she wasn't the exception. Let me tell you about three other people. Tim Adrian is a lead pastor. He's actually at the end of his pastorate. He's been pastoring for about 30 years. And he's in that transition where he's wanting to transition to a new role where he's coaching other people as opposed to leading a church. So he said this, to walk into a business owner's office, and that's what he wanted to do, and say, I think I could walk alongside you. That's a whole new arena. And that was something that he did as he did his practice coaching to get his certification. And he did an excellent job. He called the training the missing link. Savannah, she's a designer and she's a brand strategist. She said, unexpected would be the word to summarize my certified coach training, and you can start implementing this right away. What I love about her story is that she had some practice coaching with one of her peers, and by the end of the coaching call, she made a decision to do something for a client to reach more clients. She implemented it and she actually won a new client as a result of her coaching call. And then last but not least, Georgina, she's a quality manager, software quality manager. She said, I needed to encourage growth in others. Everyone should learn these skills, everyone. And Gina wanted to be a more effective coach. She recently got a promotion, and I already heard that she's doing coaching in this new role. She came in just to get better feedback and how to deal with hard conversations, and she finished the program, a certified coach, and now she's already coaching teams and getting ready for her next role. These leaders aren't built any differently than you or than I am. Their success wasn't extra talent necessarily. It was the decision to step up. So what they did was they decided, they made a commitment, I'm going to do this because I think this is going to help me move forward. It says here below, they had the right shift, taught in the right order for the leaders they already were. And then it says, that is exactly what I'm going to teach you tonight. So let's talk about the first one. There are three. Let's talk about the first one, the partner shift. So here's where we encourage you to stop being the answer and start being the partner. And then why books and conferences and degrees and mentoring really never made you a multiplier, even though they helped you become a leader. And then three moves, and the order matters. And then proof, and we're going to take a look at the story of Luke Lyons, a chief operating officer. Here's the first one, the partner shift. Stop being the answer and start being the partner. What do we mean by that? It says here in the center, it's going to sound backwards at first. The instinct that made you a great leader up to now is the exact instinct capping you right now. Just give that a thought for just a second. That instinct is the reflex to have the answer and hand it over. It works. It does. Until you're responsible for growing other leaders, and then it quietly breaks everything. Because every time you give someone the answer, you rob them of the chance to build the muscle themselves. And then here below, it says they don't own it. When we do that, they don't grow. They come back to you next time and the time after that, and you become the well the whole line is waiting at. So we become a well, and that's not healthy to multiply leaders. Let's continue. Why this is different than from what you've tried and many other leaders. Well, what you've already tried, the books, the conferences, the degrees, like we've mentioned, poured more information into a leader. I got to give him more books. I got to give her more training. and they've already had plenty. Mentoring, which usually becomes telling them what you would do in that scenario, the person still leaves with whose answer? Your answer, my answer, not their own. And then what happens is it makes you and I a bigger well. But notice the next column. It's the partnership. Changes who does the work in the conversation. When they come to you for advice, you're doing all the work. But now we're shifting. They do the thinking and you guide the process. A team that can decide without you in the room. The person leaves owning the decision. Now they're taking full responsibility. And lastly, it teaches you to stop being the well. And here's something that many of the students learned in the last coaching program. They realized they were working too hard. They needed others to do the work as they guided the process. Here below it says, none of them were ever designed to make you a multiplier. These factors here on the left. They were designed to inform you. This is designed to change how you lead. So we're talking about a shift in how you lead. Drop the answer reflex is the next one. It says the moment someone brings you a problem, your body wants to jump to the fix. Can you relate to that? They bring you a problem and automatically the wheels are spinning. You're ready to solve the problem. That urge isn't leadership. It's habit, it's management, but it's not leadership. The first skill is simply to notice the urge and not obey it. You're denying yourself of the urge to respond with an answer, with a solution. And I know that can be difficult. Sit in these things for, or this idea, just sit in it for about 2 to 3 seconds where silence is the answer when they come to you. And you want it to come out, the temptation is to blurt it out and tell them this is what you need to do now, but just don't do it. As long as you're talking, they are not thinking. They are just, in a sense, there's a laziness there when they're only coming to you to get the answer and they don't want to think through the process. Ask the question that opens the door. So that's part of the shift. Once you're not rushing to solve the problem that they bring to you, you ask instead of tell. Not a leading question that hides your answer inside it. It's a real, open question that hands a problem back to them. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about a real question. Notice, what have you already considered? So before you say anything about a solution, you ask them the question, what have you already considered? Secondly, what would it look like if this were working? That's another good question. What would it look like if it was actually working? So the question, it says here, is the tool that turns a dependent into an owner. Now all of a sudden they have to think, they have to process, they have to reflect. They're not simply going to stop and get an answer in the next 5 seconds. And then I love this phrase, you hand them the pen. You literally hand them the pen. This is where most leaders flinch. After they talk it through, you resist the urge to grab the pen back and correct their plan into your plan. This is not always easy, especially at the start. You let them leave with their decision, their next step in their words. And it says, yes, it may be 80% of what you would have done. But I love this next statement here below. Their 80% will outperform your 100% because they will actually run it. They will do it and they will learn in the process. That's the key. So here's my friend Luke Lyons, the light bulb moment for a global COO. I remember in one of our post certification interviews, he talked to me about this and he said the following: everything was limited by my own personal limitations and my time. If I could not make a meeting, the whole thing was off. In other words, it was canceled. That is not scalable. And he was in the process of scaling his organization. What changed? Early in the program, Luke watched one of his own people talk their way to a conclusion completely on their own as he coached them with nothing handed to them. His words, he said, I had never experienced anything like it. It was always people coming with problems, expecting me to come up with a solution. This was different. And one of the things he said, hey, Marcel, this coaching will impact your leadership, your parenting, your ministry. It will really impact everything. And I agree. So here's the second one, engaged listening. We'll take a look at the difference between a good and an engaged listener. We'll listen to respond versus listening to probe. And we'll take a look at the three moves and the order. And then we'll talk about an example, Tony Merritt. So here's the first part. A good listener hears you, but notice the second. An engaged listener moves you. It's great that people listen, but we want the people that report to us and the people we're leading to move and take action. Most of you have been told your whole life, your entire life, that you're a good listener, and you probably are by the normal definition. But a good listener hears the words and waits politely for their turn. An engaged listener, they do something different. They're doing something completely different. They're listening for what's underneath the words. They're not listening just to respond. They're listening to really understand what's going on so they can ask one question that helps the other person see it too. Good listening makes people feel heard. But notice the difference. Engaged listening actually moves them. That's the shift. What we want to do in coaching, and as we learn coaching competencies, we go from having people listen to respond, having people just acknowledge and agree to something, to take action and have a plan. Why this is different from the listening that you already do. It says listening to respond. While they talk, your brain is already preparing and building a reply, a response. We half listen to people sometimes, half rehearsing ourselves in the process. We nod, we say, well, yeah, that makes sense. You wait until they finish. You're polite, and they can still feel the difference and see it. Pleasant conversations, sure, but nothing changes afterwards. Here's the shift. You listen to probe. You keep your own answer offline. You wait. You put it on the side. You hunt for the real issue. What's underneath that they're not necessarily communicating? They're hiding. The person feels understood at a level they rarely experience. Your question holds up a mirror they didn't have before. They start to see their own situation clearly. All of a sudden, things change. And what I find dealing with different managers and business owners and leaders is they often walk out of their one-on-ones with their team or team members, and they're just discouraged because nothing really changes. It's just another meeting. It's just another review. Coaching dramatically changes that. First of all, here's what we do. We listen to probe, not just to respond. So this is the discipline of keeping your own answer offline while the other person talks. So instead of building your reply, what are we doing? We're asking ourselves one question the whole time. What is the real thing here? What's really going on? What's the motive? What is driving this? And that's a really important question. You'll be shocked, and I've been shocked often, how many times someone brings you a problem and whatever they say that problem is really is not the real problem. It's something else that you have to dig up. Your job is to stay quiet long enough to hear the real issue. And that's not easy, especially at first. So then here's the second move. We ask the clarifying question. We're exploring. Once you sense what the real issue is, you note it, but then you don't announce it, you don't blurt it out, you simply ask about it. A clarifying question doesn't add more information. What does it do? It sharpens their focus. So if the person in the conversation says, hey, I'm just overwhelmed, you can ask, when you say you're overwhelmed, what's the one piece that feels heaviest? And as you ask the question, what I encourage my students to do is just remain quiet. I mean, even if it gets uncomfortable, just remain quiet. It might be 15 seconds. It might be 20 seconds. It might be 40 seconds. But let them sit with the question, let them process and let them think, and then let them return the answer. Don't help them, don't give them clues, just let them respond. It takes a foggy problem and it gives it edges, and suddenly they can see what they're dealing with. And this is a great exercise. This is a great activity. Put them in the driver's seat. That's essentially what we're saying. After the real issue is clear, you resist the urge to take the wheel. You keep them in charge of the solution. So they're actually controlling the progress. And you as a coach, you're controlling the what? The process, the coaching process. You ask what they want to do about it, not what you would do. Once again, they are leading, you are guiding. And then every question that you ask, what should it do? It should give them a little more of the steering, the accountability, the plan. It says by the end, you are not holding the plan. It's their plan. They're holding theirs and they're the one driving out or walking out of the office. And that's really the shift. It's not advice, it's not consulting, it's not mentoring, it's coaching. And what happens is they are more likely to get done what they are developing on their own with your guidance. That's really, really important. So here's another graduate. Meet Tony Merritt, a man who thought he already excelled at leading people and at listening well. Here's our first conversation. Tony said, I was told most of my life that I was a good listener. Then I took this program and I was not as good a listener as I thought. What changed? Well, what shifted, Tony said, was an understanding that what I'm actually listening for. What am I actually listening for? Am I listening to respond and give an answer, or am I listening to probe and help clarify through questioning? I didn't even know that was an area of need until I started this program. And one of the conclusions was people need more empowerment, not more information. And Tony loves to study. I mean, he has several degrees, but he realized it's not having more knowledge that's going to help me. It's helping me to learn how to listen well and probe and empower others to lead. And today, he's doing just that. Lastly, let's take a look at coaching presence. So, this is about being fully present with the person in front of you. It's about confidence built by needing to know less, not more. And I know that might sound a little awkward, but it is true. Then 3 moves, and we'll talk about the order and why it's important. And then last but not least, we'll take a look at Laz. She got certified at 59. So let's talk about coaching presence. I love this topic. Lead with confidence without needing the answer. And if you're like me, I've walked into rooms before where my stomach has turned because maybe I thought, okay, I needed to study another 4 to 6 hours before this presentation in case they asked me a question I didn't know. Well, that's how Laz felt when she started the program. And I say this for last because this is often something that we don't say out loud. It often answers the question that we don't ask out loud. Here it is. How do I step into a bigger role and lead with confidence when part of me still feels like I'm not ready? Have you ever felt like you were not ready for something? I remember a couple of months ago, they gave me an impromptu interview on something that we were doing. We were running a food drive to collect food for the earthquake victims in Venezuela. And they put me on camera, no practice, no rehearsal. And it's like, go live right now. And I didn't feel I was ready, and I did the best I could. But when Laz came into the program, she did not feel ready. She was intimidated by everyone else because they had so much more education than she had. So, coaching presence, what is it? It's the ability to be fully present with the person in front of you. It's very simple without needing to have the answer. It's actually freeing. without needing to prove anything and without the noise in your head running the show. You can relax, you can be calm, you don't have to know it all. You're not the expert, you are the guide. It says when you stop needing to have the answer, the pressure that made you feel unready, suddenly it disappears. You're no longer carrying this impossible job of knowing everything. You can relax and you can be yourself. So, why this is different from how you've built confidence in the past? Well, loading up. This is what we think. And we said this already. Another training course, one more belt, badge, one more framework. Once I know enough, then surely this imposter voice is going to disappear. Then what do? We keep adding to our resume while we just don't feel ready. The feeling never quite arrives. And lastly, there's always one more thing you don't know and you wish that you knew. What does coaching presence do? Notice the shift. It removes the requirement and the pressure to know everything in the first place. Second, you don't walk in as the smartest one in the room. You don't have to be the smartest one in the room. Number three, the weight lifts. You don't have to feel that pressure, that weight. Number four, you become far more useful than the leader loaded with answers because you're actually engaged and you are present with the person. Notice what it says here below. You haven't felt ready because you've been preparing for the wrong job. Presence prepares you for the real one, and that one you can absolutely do. It's not a matter of getting more information. It's a matter of learning how to be present with a team member, with a team, with a client, and drawing the answers out and helping them and walking them through a process. Move one, set down the mental clutter. Set down the mental clutter. It says before a conversation that matters, you take 10 seconds, and this is a very simple practice. Take 10 seconds and you consciously put down everything you're carrying. Now, that might be in a form of a prayer. If you pray, that might simply be breathing techniques that you begin. But before an important meeting, before an important conversation, just practice taking this weight off, this pressure off of yourself to be fully present in the conversation. The last meeting, the to-do list, the urge to impress, don't worry about those things. Put your phone on silent, put it away, put it upside down, put it in another room if you need to, but be fully present. That's one of the things that we teach you in the coaching program. It sounds small, I get it. It sounds even elementary, but it really makes a difference. It's the difference between a person who feels talked at and a person who feels seen. People can tell instantly which one you are. They know if you're paying attention or if you're thinking about the last meeting or you're looking at your phone, checking text messages, they can see it, they can feel it. Then here's the second part. Trust the process over the panic. In the coaching program, this is what we teach you. When you're present and you're not the one with the answer, having to have all the answers, there will be a moment of silence where the old panic wants to rush in and fill the space. And then my encouragement is don't do that. One of the most difficult things that we learned in the coaching cohorts has been simply to hold the space. Hold the space. You don't have to speak when there's silence. You don't have to feel awkward. Silence is good because it allows the other person to think and process before they respond. Don't fill it with your words. Don't fill it with an idea or another question. Let the person think. The silence, notice, the silence is where the other person does their best thinking. It really is. And I've come to discover that over the years as I've coached many teams and many leaders. It's the silence that allows the breakthrough to come through. And I love this phrase below. A good question plus a little silence will get you somewhere better than your rushed answer ever would or ever could. Lead from a willing heart. not a full resume. Just put down the resume, put down the credentials, just put all of that down. Lead from the heart, focused on the person in front of you. This is the mindset underneath the whole thing. You don't step in because you have every credential. You step in because you're willing to walk with the person. Coaching is really like Obi-Wan Kenobi and Luke Skywalker from Star Wars. Obi-Wan was the guide. He guided Luke Skywalker and he coached him. So that's what we're doing as coaches. That's what we're doing in this process. We're learning to walk with people as the guide, not the expert, not the one with all the answers. It says a willing heart plus real presence will outserve an impressive resume every single time. And I love what Laz said. And this is Laz here. At 59, she coached a global construction executive. This was great. And I heard the recording and I assessed her on the recording. It was fabulous. In her final evaluation, Laz was intimidated big time. I mean, that might even be an understatement, but she was so afraid to start this program. She had never done anything like this. And it says Laz was intimidated by the extensive professional experience and the educational attainment held by her peers and the people in the room. She said, I feel so stupid. She actually said that. I'm not going to do this. I can't do this. All these people around me are so smart. Now, you have doctors in the room, you have engineers in the room, you have software quality. I mean, you have different people in the room. And here's Laz, and she's, I mean, overwhelmed. She's been out of school for many years. Can I do this? And the answer was yes. And I simply encouraged her, as I encouraged Dr. Paula, trust the process and do the work. What changed? Well, like I said, in her final evaluation, she coached this regional manager and it was great. She did a great job. She didn't need to be an expert in construction. She was not an expert in construction. She followed the process and this guy walked out of the coaching session encouraged, with direction, certain on what he needed to do. Laz was really effective in her coaching. Laz was one of the best coaches because she was committed to the process and she coached from the heart. And that's what you find coaching is. It's a willingness to serve people from the heart. And that's what makes it exciting because you're coaching people. So let's review 3 shifts, 1 method. Okay, here we go. Again, they're not 3 separate shifts, but the order does matter. The partner shift. What did we say? You stop being the answer and you start drawing out from the people. You stop being the expert. That's the foundation. Number 2, the engaged listening. So we are engaging people, we're probing, we're asking questions, we're not rushing to give them a solution and help them find an answer quickly. We're slowing down the process. And then number 3, coaching presence. We are present with people. The pressure lifts. We're not trying to manipulate a conversation. We're simply trying to guide them. We're trying to help them. We're the guide. We're not the expert. So these 3 shifts really make a difference. And that's what it means to lead by coaching. That's what it means to really serve people. Now, these are some of the basics of coaching, but they're really, really foundational. So here's a question. What happens when one of these pieces is missing? When one piece is missing, what happens? Well, in the partnership, there's no engaged listening. You'll ask the questions, but they will be shallow questions aimed at surface problem. You won't go deeper. And then nothing will really move. Nothing will really improve. They'll be back in your office once again. You feel like coaching doesn't work, of course, because you're not coaching. You're telling, you're advising, you are mentoring. Notice the second one. Engaged listening, no presence. Well, you'll hear the real issue, and then the old panic will rush in, and then you'll grab a pen and say, hey, this is what you got to do. Do these 3 things and get this done by tomorrow. That doesn't help them to grow as a leader. And then the third one, presence, no partnership. So all of a sudden, if These things are present. In the last one, you'll be calm and warm and fully attentive, and but you'll still be the bottleneck. You'll still be the bottleneck because you're not a partner. You're the advisor. You're giving them all the answers. But what happens when all three of these work together simultaneously? That's the shift that we're talking about. You stop being the leader people report to, and you become the leader. Notice, you become the leader people are hoping will lead them. And I pause there a second because I think this is really important. You stop being the leader people report to. I got to give him or her information. I have to get information or advice or direction from them. That begins to shift. You become the leader that everyone wants to work for. Everyone wants to work for because you're leading them in an empowering way. And that's the shift. Because you're the one that makes everyone around you what? Clear in what they need to do, more capable, more competent, and more confident. That's what happens when it shifts. That's what happens when you and I shift from manager or leader and doing these old practices to all of a sudden changing and becoming a coach. It says, are you the kind of leader who's willing to do what it takes to get this right? So if you're going to accept or look for a new role in the next 6 to 12 months or in the next year, are you willing to take a step forward and do this right in a way that can really take your leadership to the next level? So it's not about managing, it's about empowering. It's not about telling, it's really about serving as a guide for people to follow. So, three shifts and what each one does. And I'll just review these quickly. The partner shift, engaged listening, and coaching presence. That's what we've been talking about. And that's what can really help you in your work as you lead, whether it's one person, 10 people, 100 people, 1,000 people, or more. It's the shift that we need to lead at the next level. Okay, so let's do an exercise. Here's the exercise. I want you to think of a goal that you want to reach by the end of the year. Okay, think of a goal that you want to reach by the end of the year and just pick one of these areas. You can't do them all, but just pick one area. It might be your spiritual life, it might be your health, performance, family, ministry, leadership, whatever that is. But I want you to pick a goal that you want to reach by the end of the year. Okay, so I'll give you an example. It's a very simple example, and then you can follow along, but just type it into the chat. So by the end of the year, I want to be able to lose another 10 pounds by the end of the year. Okay, so it's very concrete, it's very specific, it's very simple, but you get the point. So think about it and go ahead and put your answer in the chat. I'm going to look at the chat here on my phone, and then go ahead and write down what you believe is possible by the end of the year. Okay, so just give it a thought and just type it into the chat. Let me just look here a second. So Kimberly, I want to grow in coaching. Okay, good. That's good. Anyone else, just drop it in the chat. And I'm gonna walk you through a framework. But the reason I'm going to walk you through this framework is twofold. Number one, I want to give you tonight a tool that you can use with your team tomorrow, with somebody that you're coaching one-on-one tomorrow. This is actually a very basic coaching framework. Okay, so let's go to the next slide, which is essentially the first question again. What goal do you need to reach by the end of the year? So you drop it in the chat. Okay, so Denise said, I want to finish coaching hours and grow in presence and question asking. Okay, great. That's a good goal. If anyone else is there, I can't really see everyone on this screen, but just go ahead and drop it in the chat. And then here's the second question. What's important to you about this goal? What feelings does this evoke? So just take it one question at a time. The first one is, what's important to you about this goal? Give you a minute to think there. And then here's the second part of question two. What feelings does this evoke? For me, losing 10 pounds by the end of the year, the feelings that it evokes is I'm encouraged. I think I can do it. I think it's possible. So they're positive feelings. Losing 10 pounds by the end of the year is realistic. I don't think it's an unattainable goal. I think it's something I can do. So these are the same very questions that you can ask someone tomorrow or tonight after we finish to help them get closer to their goal. Okay? Helping leaders in ministry, it's my happy place. Okay? That's great. Then I will have certification and be able to go to the next level, excitement and intimidation. Okay, I get it. It's my happy place, Kimberly said. And Denise, okay, good. This is good. Now, let's go to the third one. All right. And these are not difficult, right? These are fairly simple. What keeps getting in the way of reaching your goal? What keeps getting in the way? So, what else is making this a problem for you now? So, what's getting in the way for me? It's, I'm constantly being offered food, constantly being invited to different events. And what else is making this a problem for you now? Working full time, Denise, it doesn't create enough time. Yeah, I get that. You're working full time. You may have family that you have to take care of, whether it's family, spouse, kids, or maybe parents or niece, and things happen. You try to mentor and be part. I mean, life gets busy, so I get that. Okay, so here's the fourth one. And by the way, you can take a screenshot. There's only one more question after this, but if you want to take a screenshot of this, and you'll get a replay by tomorrow, and use it to help other people as well. What has this cost you already? Now that's a deeper question. So when you're coaching somebody, here's where you want to ask the question and you want to pause, because this is where you peel back the layers. What has this cost you already? And then the other question is, what else has it cost you? Okay, so family and life, Kimberly said, yeah, I get that. I mean, sometimes by not being able to do things, there's an impact on your family, there's an impact on your professional life, on your personal life. So here's the last one. What steps will move you forward to reach your goal? Now, when you're talking to somebody and you're coaching them, so consider this like coaching training wheels, if you will, right? We're giving you training wheels just to help you do something practical. And this is for you to help somebody tonight or tomorrow morning, like I said, get started right away on helping someone move forward. So now I've gone through this relatively quickly, but you can easily take 20 minutes going through these questions, probing deeper. That's what we do in the coaching cohort. And then when you get to number five, this is kind of towards the end. What steps will move you forward to reach your goal? You ask the question, but you don't give them the answer. You allow them to think and don't accept, well, I don't know. I mean, that's just lazy. I don't know. Just keep waiting for them. Say, well, I'm not going to give you the answer. I want you to think what steps will move you forward to reach your goal. Another way of saying it is, what is the first step that will help move you forward to reach your goal? Denise said it's slowed down me transitioning into the next career chapter. I'm going to work with my ministry to make time for this and coach as many people as possible. I'll start by September and try to finish by December. Okay, and that's great. That's the idea. We're talking about specifics. So specifics and action steps are what actually move people forward. You don't move forward when everything is generic and I might do this. No, you have to have a concrete step. Dates are really good. When are you going to start? When are you going to finish? Why? Because if it's just open-ended, they never get anything out of it. They don't do anything because when there's no accountability, there's no action. That's just the reality. This is a simple coaching framework. Now, here's where you, as a coach, so I'm talking to you as if you are already coaching someone, right? And then this is a question that you have to consider. As you went through this exercise, what did you learn about yourself? What did you learn about yourself? So as you think about that, you can write it in the chat if you like. What did I learn about myself? And then here's the next question, and you don't have to answer both. But the next question is, what else did you learn? Because this is what we want to do in coaching. We want people to come away from coaching learning something new and then taking what they are learning and apply it into action. But oftentimes we don't go deeper because this is a question you can continue asking in coaching. It's one of my favorite questions. That's why it's here. I'll ask someone this question 3 or 4 times. What else did you learn? And I might phrase it differently. What did you learn about your tolerance for working through conflict? What did you learn about your fear as you face this issue? This is something you can ask in different ways from different angles, but it really opens up things well and is very, very effective. Okay, so those are things. I hope that was an encouragement to you. So now with all these things in mind, let me just briefly go over 2 paths. There are 2 paths that you can take from here. So now you know the shift from, the old way of leading and doing things to the new way, which is coaching. And I believe you essentially have 2 paths. Here they are: on your own or with an ICF mentor coach. In that case, that would be myself. There are 2 paths. You can go online, you can go to YouTube, you can watch a ton of videos. I mean, that's something that you can do. Try to build these shifts on your own and try to work on them. You can definitely read more books. There's a ton of books on coaching out there, really good books. You can, try to guess, am I doing this right or not? Am I being effective? You can practice alone without ICF qualified mentorship, or you can wait until the next role exposes your gaps because eventually it will. You can search online 100%, but you are the one responsible for staying on top of it. Then the other path is with an ICF mentor coach. It's a structured and it's flexible. And I believe, Kimberly, you were the one, Denise, you said working full time doesn't create enough time. So one of the differences with this program, it's flexible. It's very, very flexible. It's structured, but it's flexible. And it's ICF accredited. And it builds all three of these that we just talked about in order. You practice on real coaching sessions, not just concepts. So this isn't you watch 1,000 slides and that's it. No, we go through coaching theory. Yes, we'll talk about that, but you're going to practice this and then you're going to get specific coaching on your coaching skills. That's the next one. Qualified ICF mentor coach, evaluating your sessions and telling you exactly what to fix. So I give you corrective instruction. I tell you exactly what to do. You know how to fix it. So the next time you coach, you work on that. It's that simple. You have a peer group of leaders learning alongside you. You walk in competent, confident, and ready for the next role, having eliminated those leadership gaps. Then what I love about this program, it's 100% online. There are no long flights, no expensive hotels, thank God. No time away from your family. You can do this from home. You can do this from your office. And that's the difference between, well, I hope I can figure this out and I know I can finish the program. Let me introduce to you briefly, in the time we have remaining, the Certified Coach Accelerator. That's what I call this program. The official program is Imagine Certified Professional Coach. But for our purposes tonight, we're calling it the Certified Coach Accelerator because what we're doing is we're accelerating the program so you can do this program faster than it takes in other programs. It's a mentored, ICF accredited pathway to becoming a certified professional coach in 5 months. It's built for experienced leaders ready for what's next, all without travel, hotels, or leaving their families behind. So let me share with you a couple of big picture benefits that you'll get from the program. You will increase your leadership competence, your leadership confidence, and your leadership clarity. By the end of the program, you will grow in each of these 3 areas. I'm not going to read the testimonials here, but that's one of the things that we found from the feedback given to us. My leadership has grown, my competence as a leader has grown, my confidence as a leader has grown, and I am clearer in my communication. So those are the things that happen as a result of the program. Here's some things that you'll get, and we'll talk about these in more detail. You get ICF coach skills training. You get that on Zoom. There's live coach training that you get directly from me. There's observed coaching labs where you are placed with other peers and you're coaching, and I'm observing and giving you feedback. There's a peer coaching group where you coach other peers on your own schedule. You work out those details, the best days and times. You have some of those sessions as well. Then we have an executive coach intensive, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about that later. But this program, what's unique about it, it trains you in the ICF core competencies, but then you also get training on how to become an executive coach. And you also get an executive coach certificate as well. On demand training, I mean, that's simply a series of videos that you watch at your pace, at your time. I give you a student worksheet so you know exactly how you're tracking, and it's all on demand. Then personalized mentor coaching. That's from me to you directly. It's not somebody I hire. I'm the one doing the coaching, the mentor coaching. And then lastly, direct personal access to me by phone, by Zoom, by email, WhatsApp, whatever your preference is. Let me help you understand how the program runs. The Certified Coach Accelerator Path. There are 5 phases, generally speaking. Number one, the ICF Coach Skills Training on Zoom. So you are learning the skills. We're live on Zoom. We're talking about coach theory, as I mentioned before, and it's a very open type concept. You can ask questions. It's very fluid. It's very relational. Then the phase two, that's where you watch on demand videos. You can watch on the weekend, you can watch it in the morning during your lunch hour. You can listen to some as you're driving to work. I mean, there's all kinds of things that you can do. You learn coach theory, ethics from the ICF, and competencies. Then phase three, that's when we do the observed coaching. We get into labs and peer coaching, and that's where you grow and your competency begins to grow as well. And then phase four, mentor coaching and executive intensives. Now's where we turn up the heat a little bit. We really drill down on your skills. We sharpen your skills. And then once you get through your mentor coaching, we have the final evaluation, and I'll give you a layout of what that looks like. And then we get into the executive coaching intensives. So once you pass the final performance evaluation, you are officially an Imagine certified professional coach. That puts you on the pathway, as we'll see in a minute, to ICF's ACC credentialing. And I'll talk more about that in just a minute. Here's the 4 to 5 month plan. So look at month one is September. We're going to start September 1st is the plan for this cohort, Tuesday evenings, 6:30 p.m. So we're going to start a little intense, every Tuesday just about in September. We're going to go, and those are the different topics and the groupings, as you can see. Then September, October, month two, we go into skills coaching, and some of these overlap. And then month three, September, October, November, we have Thanksgiving. I'll be out for 1 week training in the Philippines. That month, you'll be able to catch up on some videos if you've fallen behind a little bit. We have a makeup day. So there's a lot of flexibility here. And then month four, which is December, we go into the executive coaching intensive. Now, what I will say is, even though I have a month five, you can finish the program in 4 months. You can finish the program by Christmas. I just put month five in case, listen, emergencies happen, right? Family emergencies. My mom has dementia, and there's been times where I've had to put things on hold to care for her. I get it. So in case you need another month, that's fine. But you actually have you have access to the program for an entire year online. But what I know, people that commit to doing it faster usually complete the program faster. That's just a reality. It may look a little intimidating, but I give you a structured plan so you know what to do. But if you need a little bit more time, that's not an issue. Like I said, there's already built-in flexibility for the program. So after a few months, you don't just have a professional coaching certificate, you become a different kind of leader, whether that's business, education, ministry. You become the leader who grows other leaders. You stop carrying every problem out of the room on your back. You stop carrying all that stress. You start walking into the next room already ready. So, add a quick comment in the chat, if you will. Can you see how coaching changes the way you lead? Can you see how it can change the way that you lead? Where did your previous leadership approach hit a wall? You can answer one of those questions if you like in the chat. And how do you think coaching will benefit you? So let's just take a minute. And I know not everyone's responding, and that's fine. But I just want to get your feedback. Do you see how the old leadership approach and coaching can really make a difference in serving people today, whether you're serving people in client settings or in a church setting or in another nonprofit setting, wherever you're serving leaders today? Do you see how coaching can help you serve people better, more effectively? That's one of the questions I want to ask. Do you see how coaching can benefit your team? If you're already leading teams, do you see how coaching can benefit your team? So if you can see that, just put in the chat. Yeah, I can see how coaching can really serve to benefit teams. Okay, so I'll move on, but I just want you to think about that for just a minute because coaching can and coaching does make a significant difference. I think it's important for me to mention who this is not for. Who this is not for. And I'll go through these relatively quickly. Okay. This is not for somebody looking for a quick certificate to print out. That's not what this is for. You're going to have to do some work. I'm just being brutally honest. There's work that you're going to have to do, but it's flexible, it's doable. But this is not about, oh, I just want to get a coaching certificate and put it on the wall and tell people I'm a coach. No, that's not what coaching is about. Number two, it's not for someone who's not willing to make it a priority for the length of the cohort. So this is really important. We're going to ask you to dedicate one night a week to attend the cohort. We're going to have breaks in between. And then we're going to ask you to do some of the work during the week at your leisure. And I can give you several ideas of how you can do that, which is very, very efficient. Not all the videos have to be watched, but you do have to listen to them. That gives you flexibility on how you can complete the process. Number three, the leader who wants to keep leading exactly as they always have. If you say, hey, I've been leading for 30 years, I don't need to change, I'm fine, this is not for you. It's not for you. Okay. This is for the leader who realizes they can get better, they want to serve people better, and they've hit a seating in their leadership that they want to overcome, or they want to do a better job preparing for their next role. They want to get certified, all of those things. Lastly, it's not for someone who's not ready to invest in getting this done right. We'll go over payment options, and there is flexibility in that, but it's not for someone who just says, well, I want something free. Well, if you want something free, as the old saying goes, you get what you pay for. And I don't think that's anyone represented here in the room or watching the video. So if that's you by any chance, please don't sign up for the call because it's just not going to work out. But I just want to let people know ahead of time. So one of the things I say quite often is that there are three C's of transformation. And I really, really believe this. If you're going to want to see transformation, particularly in your professional life, in your personal life, I tell people all the time, you need three things. You need a commitment, you need a coach, and you need a course of action. A commitment to what? Continuous learning, continuous practice, change, and growth with the goal of empowering yourself and empowering others to thrive. Number two, you need a coach, an experienced partner, a guide to help you expand your awareness, more possibilities, not an expert, but a coach, a guide. And then number three, a course of action. You need a proven way to get you from where you are today to where you want to be tomorrow. It's very, very simple. To get transformation, you have to have these three elements: a commitment, a coach, and a course of action. So Again, we have Laz and Luke, two of my favorite people, and really everyone that's been part of our cohorts in the past. I've really enjoyed getting to know them. You met BJ earlier, you met Dr. Paula, Savannah, and Pastor Tim, but they have seen the way forward and they committed to the process. They did the hard work and they got through the other side. They didn't have to stop their family life. They didn't have to quit their job. They didn't have to do any of those things, but they were able to finish the program. And that's really, really encouraging. Now, what's included? I mentioned these already. I'm not going to review all of them again. I think the only one I didn't mention was the student guides and the worksheets. That's really important. As I mentioned before, this is a level one ICF accredited coach education program. From here, so I talked about the two paths, and I want to mention that there are two things I'm going to give you tonight, absolutely free. There's, no other requirement, just being on this call tonight and then responding in 24 hours. There's a bonus. Number one, it's the coach eligibility review and leadership growth plan. It's a $500 value. This is where you and I get on a phone call and I personally map out with you where you are right now and what's needed to get you to the path of certification. And if certification is not the right fit for you, that's fine, but we build a leadership growth plan together. It's a lot of fun. It's all about you, not about me. It's about what you want to do and the direction you want to take. And then I walk with you in the process and you fill out a form before we jump on the call. The second thing is a free coaching session with me. It's a one on one coaching session, 30 to 45 minutes. You can talk about anything you want. It's strictly confidential. There's no one else in the room. I don't record the session. And we just talk through it together. And then you experience coaching for yourself. And if you've never had coaching before, professional coaching, I think it would really encourage you. And I think you'll learn a lot of things in the process as well. If you, after tonight, if you book a call within the next 24 hours, then you get both of these free. There's no other obligation. And I'll talk about the program in a minute, but these are my bonus gifts to you. Okay. So if I add these bonuses together, then I'm going to add additional bonuses if you actually sign up for the cohort. If you say, yes, I want to be part of this, and you sign up within the next 24 hours, I'm going to include a life coach intensive, which is already completed on demand. I add that to the training. There's a marriage coach intensive. So if you're involved in ministry, that is something that you can benefit from. If you enjoy working with other couples and helping couples. So those are two additional intensives. Plus, part of the executive coach training intensive, I give you additional documents that you can use to help companies with their vision, their mission, their values, leadership development, character, how to maximize their time, sales. I mean, I give all of that to you. So this is the program itself has a value of at least 24,000. And I'm being conservative because I hate when people just overinflate these numbers. Oh, this is worth, $150,000. No, it's not. It's just not. I just want to give you a realistic number. This is worth at least at the floor, $24,000. And that's including all of the bonuses that I just mentioned. The challenge is for you to lead at the level that you are always called to. That's really important. And I remember looking back at my life, I hit a plateau in my leadership. And I said, I have to do something different. It's not another course. It's not another book. It's not another degree. I need to do something different. And the difference was an experiential learning program. That's what this coaching program is. It's sure we have on-demand training. Sure, you have to watch some videos, but more than that, you're going to practice the skill and you're going to get better week by week. That's the goal. Here's how to enroll. Your investment is just $7,500. That's the cost of the program. And if you pay in full, it's $7,500. That doesn't change. You have full access to the online learning. You can actually start tonight and start going through the videos if you want to. There's no recurring fees. There's no other fees. If you want to pay monthly, that gives you more flexibility with your budget. You can pay $750 a month for 10 months, and then you can work that out with your payment plan. The only thing you have to do is text the word certify to 786-855-4951. If you're on this call and you're somewhere other than the United States, it's +1 786-855 4951. That's all you have to do. That's what it is. You have the information there. And then the next thing is empower more leaders, change more lives. If you want to make a bigger impact, that's really what coaching is about. If you want to empower more leaders, if you want to change more lives, then coaching is the way forward. It helped Dr. Paula, it helped Luke, it helped Georgina, and many others. And it can also help you as well. My challenge to you is take the next step. Take the next step. The ICF certification and credentialing process can be confusing, but this is a simplified approach to the entire process. So, Coach Accelerator Workshop, you're watching it right now, you're engaged. You're really at step one. You're at step number one. So, step number one is the Coach Accelerator Workshop. Then, step number two, you text certify to the number I mentioned before, and you purchase the program. You begin your ICF accredited coach training. That's step number three. And then you finish it. Once you finish, you are a certified coach. Imagine certified professional coach. Now you've reached a milestone. Once you become an ICF certified coach or an Imagine certified professional coach, then you move on to the next phase if you choose to do so. But if you want to get credentialed as an ICF ACC, which stands for Associate Certified Coach, all you have to do afterwards, after you complete the program, is get 100 additional hours of coaching, and then you take an assessment with the ICF. That's it. Many people decide, well, I'm fine having my certification with you. Other people decide, no, I want to go all the way and I want to get credentialed. That's fine too. I just walk you through the process. You decide how far you want to go. So the next cohort I already mentioned begins Tuesday, September 1st at 6:30 p.m. That's when we begin, 100% online, all on Zoom. Once again, how do you enroll? Your investment is $7,500. You text certify to 786-855-4951. You can pay monthly, $750 a month for 10 months. Whatever's easier for you, it works for me. The last thing I want to mention to you before we wrap up and we have a time for questions, if you have any questions, is the following. We're going to clarify who this is for. This is for experienced leaders who are serious about getting ready for what's next. So you're serious about preparing for your next role, and who you are ready to invest in doing it right to lead at a higher level. What does coaching do? Coaching allows you to lead at a higher level. It says, I personally evaluate every mentor coaching session. That's true. And final performance evaluation. The next cohort has a fixed start date, September 1st, and mentored spots are capped. So we may have a large group, but really we cap the mentor coaching at 10. Once it goes over 10, then we have to start another mentor coaching group, but we have mentor coaching groups of 10 maximum. That's really important because that's what the ICF requires. That's why it's important to act now and get certified and start September 1st. Before your gaps get exposed, get ready for the role that's coming. That's my encouragement to you. Your certification starts here. It could even start today or this evening, depending on where you're watching this video. Path one. Let's talk again about two paths. You enroll now. You lock in your bonuses. You started your training. You begin the coach certification process. All you have to do is text certify to 786-855 4951. That is what I hope you will do tonight. I hope you will enroll and begin the on-demand video training. Second, there's another path if you want to move forward. If you say, Marcel, I would really like to get on a coach eligibility call with you. I would like to take advantage of the free coaching session that you offered. I understand that. All you have to do is text clarify, and then I'll send you a link. You'll get that link within 24 hours. You can schedule a time with me. We'll go over the call, the one-on-one coach eligibility session, and then we'll schedule your free coaching session as well. So either way is a path, but if you're ready to start today, then choose path number one. Enroll now, text certify to 786-855-4951. Again, on this call, by the way, this coach eligibility call, this is not a high pressure version of anything. Before we talk, you get the link, you fill out the form, you give me some basic information, providing context for our call. Then on the call, here's what I do. I ask you about your situation, where you are as a leader, what are your leadership goals, what have you tried, what didn't work, what did it cost you? You've heard that before. And then what the next role looks like for you. It's that simple. And then at the end of the call, either we agree that the Certified Coach Accelerator is your next step or it's not. And if it's not, it's fine. If it is, we talk about the different options that we talked about tonight, and then we get you enrolled and we get you started. That's really what it is. You're getting a roadmap to move forward. So that's where your certification begins. Your certification begins here. So now the question I have for you, what would you like to do next?